Okay, I would like to welcome everyone tonight to our City Council meeting, Tuesday, October 10th, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Stacy Segura. Thank you so much, Stacy. And now we would like to ask Tom Segura to offer us an opening prayer.
Our dear Father in heaven, we pause in prayer at the beginning of this City Council meeting to express our gratitude unto Thee for the many blessings we enjoy, for this beautiful community that we live in, and for the lovely day we've had. We're grateful for the rains that have come and renewed our reservoirs. We're grateful for the good people that lead this city and pray for Thy blessings to be upon them. We additionally pray for the leaders of the countries throughout the world, that they can have Thy Spirit to touch their hearts and help have a spirit of brotherhood among them. We pray for Thy blessings to be upon this meeting this evening, and pray that when the conclusion of this meeting comes to pass, that all will be able to return home and find all well there. We ask and pray for these things in the sacred name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much for that beautiful prayer. We would like to now turn the time over to public comment. If you wish to make a comment to the council, please use the podium and clearly state your name and address, and keep your comment to a maximum of 2 minutes. The time is now yours.
Gary Davis, 2814 South, 500 West, Bountiful. Yeah. I just want to take this time to say thank you to it's been a very eventful last few weeks in the town. A lot of things have been happening, and I just want to say thank you to all of the public service individuals, the first responders that we have, police, fire, EMS, medics, as well as the power department. Alan left, but I thanked him earlier. The power, the water, the sewer, the city staff that we have here, and I suppose while I'm at it, I'll thank the city council for their judicious handling of the resources, the taxpayers' money that has come under their control. The members of on both sides here, we got some great people working for this city, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. It makes me nervous to stand here. As many of you know, I have kind of an interest in the franchise agreement, and I would just encourage the council to consider the fact that you talked about tonight, that CenturyLink didn't really pay attention to their previous agreements. It's a little bit frustrating to see the amount of construction coming through. I live on the north side of town. I know they're hustling to bring fiber into the city, and it's curious that they didn't do anything about this until the Utopia contract was signed. And so I just encourage you that, in my humble opinion, I think the pole attachments ought to be taken care of before they're given a franchise agreement. Thank you.
All right, Rachel Coleman, 202 East, 1400 South. This is concerning the rezone of the Medical Plaza property on Orchard Drive.
Rachel, we'll have a specific public hearing for that in a little bit.
Okay.
So you can,
I'll be back.
if you don't mind, hang on.
I didn't realize that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you. If you would hold that thought. Anyone else for our general public comment period? Okay, seeing none, we will move to consider approval of minutes of previous meeting held September 26th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. And now we will have a Bountiful City Youth Council report by Carter Black. Am I getting the position right? Are you the mayor? The interim mayor? Okay.
Are you the son of Dan Black?
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for being here, Carter.
Of course. Okay, so I also want to talk about the next month, this month and also next month, mostly the rest of the year. So this previous week of this month, we worked on our graffiti cleanup up by the B. We cleaned up graffiti in the tunnel, but also the road barricades. And then we'll have upcoming Halloween activity. We're still planning everything on that. We plan to have that October 28th at North Canyon Park. And then we also hope to soon in November do a open mic night for any talent within the community and just have people show off their talents. A big part of what we've been doing recently is this year's theme is to focus on teen homelessness and teen poverty. And I've personally been working on getting the teen center involved in a food and donation drive. We've had a few problems with it, but we've been able to work around it. Our goal is to hopefully, mostly the Woods Cross and Bountiful is our plan, and hopefully get them money to improve their facilities for students and also help them just be able to give students what they need. We were planning to do a football game last week. Sadly, we couldn't do it since someone else is already doing a food drive. But we will hopefully do something for them within the future. They want us possibly to do a basketball game for the Bountiful against Woods Cross game, possibly. Other than that, that's it for the next month or two. Thank you, and you guys have been so helpful with Bountiful City Youth Council, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now do our council reports, and we'll start with Councilwoman Segura Bar.
Nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Price Hewish.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Okay, I will just report that we have tomorrow the Bountiful Business Symposium. So for all Bountiful business owners, we're having an event here tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., where we will be able to connect with other business owners, hear kind of an update from the city about development, and also hear from a speaker about branding. And so it should be a really good event tomorrow morning for any interested parties that are Bountiful business owners. Tomorrow morning, Bountiful Business Symposium. Oh, and complimentary breakfast as well. Councilman Bell.
I just encourage all you business owners to come be here tomorrow morning at 7:30. Nothing else to report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bradshaw.
Thanks, Mayor. Two announcements. One's just a general reminder. If you're interested in the Recreation District Truth in Taxation hearing for the property tax increase that is proposed, that is November 6th at 6 p.m. at the Rec District on the second floor in the community rooms. And then the second is just a reminder that we will be having a grand opening for Washington Park this Friday at 5 p.m. to officially add it into our portfolio of awesome city parks, particularly the skate park section.
Very exciting. Thank you. Councilman Higginson.
Excuse me, just echo what Councilmember Bradshaw just mentioned about the grand opening. I know that there are 2 council members who plan to have skateboards at that grand opening, so you may be able to see our emergency services folks in action as well. So come and participate.
I want to know who the council members are. Just kidding.
It's North Rift and South Rift.
Ah, nice.
I bought a skateboard. I practiced. It's going to be scary. Might need a helmet.
We're all excited. It'll be fun. Thank you. Okay, we will consider approval of expenditures greater than $1,000 paid September 20th and 27th, as well as the August 2023 financial report.
Mayor, I'm happy to make a motion that we approve all of those as printed.
Second?
That second to Councilman Bell, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. We'll now move to item number 7, the UDOT I-15 presentation by Gary Hill.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I won't actually be making the presentation myself, but I am going to set the stage a little bit. We have, or should have, a couple of representatives from UDOT here. Oh, great. Larry and Siobhan, right? Would you both mind coming up? UDOT's studying the expansion of I-15 from Farmington to Salt Lake City, has been in the environmental study phase of this for a period of time, and has just recently released the draft EIS statement that's now available for public comment. There will be some opportunities in the next few weeks for additional public comment on that, and I think I'll turn the time over to Larry and Siobhan to talk a little bit about how we can be involved and what you would like us to know, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I believe we have a presentation that you can pull up. Again, my name is Siobhan. I'm working with the communications side of the UDOT project team. And Larry, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Larry Reich with HDR. I've been the engineering lead for the project.
So I will run you through this quick presentation. We've been here at each major milestone of the study, so we should have some familiarity with it, but wanted to give you a little update about what the upcoming opportunities are to be involved in this milestone. And Larry will answer all your substantive questions. So, yes, you can go to the next slide. So what we'll cover today is just where we've been, what this milestone means, how people can be involved, and then we'll take some questions. Again, this study, for those who aren't familiar with it, starts in Salt Lake City at 4th South and goes all the way up to where US 89 turns off in Farmington. So that's where the area of I-15 that this study area was, that we looked at. The quality of life framework is something that UDOT has adopted in recent years, and something we kept very closely in mind as we were developing the criteria for this study and looking and evaluating the alternatives, looking at better mobility, good health, connected communities, and strong economy. This really represents a evolution in thinking for the Department of Transportation, trying to consider all modes on a much more equal footing. So we hope that you'll see that in the alternative that we're rolling out. So other improvements. This is something that we added to our presentation this time because we got a lot of feedback the last time we came out with alternatives that people said things like, hey, you should consider transit, you should consider trails, you should consider these other things. And we want to make sure it's really clearly understood that our Metropolitan Planning Organization, Wasatch Front Regional Council, spends a lot of time looking at our region and evaluating transportation needs. And so this study came out of the Regional Transportation Plan, or the Unified Transportation Plan. It was a recommendation to study I-15, but that's not to the exclusion of other modes. Already in that Regional Transportation Plan, our study assumes that UTA has already double-tracked and electrified Front Runner. It assumes that the Legacy Parkway Trail is extended, that other walking and biking facilities are already in place, and it also looks at, assumes that the West Davis corridor is fully built out, I-80, I-15, widenings on those. So our study looks at the remaining demand, even though those things are already planned for. So just for the sake of clarity, we can go to the next. And the study comes from the fact that your section of I-15 is aging. There are structures, there are roadway needs. And so rather than just coming in and redoing those, you don't want to take a holistic look and say, okay, if we're talking about 2050, how are we going to want to move goods and services? How are we going to want to move people? What do our interchanges need to look like? So rather than just doing the simplified look, this is a more holistic look to make sure we're addressing all of those transportation needs. Continue on. And so you can see the 2019 travel times there on the left-hand side as compared to if we were to do nothing, if the department was to do nothing on the right-hand side. By 2050, we would be dealing with quite a bit of delay. And so this study aims to address some of that congestion and delay and make sure that we are moving people who need to move. So continue on. We're also looking at issues of safety. This study, the proposal looks at, making sure our shoulders are a little more uniform through this section. Those of you who drive it know that there are a couple sections where there's a little sharper curves and S-curves, trying to smooth some of those areas out. And on the right-hand side, you see some crash data that indicates that we have some work to do on safety. So our preferred alternative addresses some of the issues that are leading to those existing safety issues. We can continue on. Like I mentioned, we looked specifically at each interchange. Some of your staff joined us on a walk a couple of years ago when we started this, where we walked the interchanges. How does it feel to walk? Do I feel safe? Do I feel protected? That type of thing, and looking at these interchanges, not just looking at them, from Google Maps. We really have walked and considered and met with your staff and tried to look at those needs very specifically in each community. And of course, you can see a couple of examples here on connecting. If we're talking about all modes, making sure people can get to the front runner stations, making sure people can connect on bike trails, and that those are more feasible modes within the study area where we have control over those things. Continue on. So the first time we came to you to talk about this study, we brought you our draft purpose and need. And this is something that an environmental study always has to have, is the why. Why is this needed? And as you see here, this is the purpose and need that became final after that first milestone with purpose and need. So I won't read through all of those, but our alternative should reflect a solution that addresses these. And all of these things that you're seeing here are available online if you really want to dig in and read through them. This is all on there. So when we came to you last with alternatives, we had a couple of different alternatives on I-15, including, as you see below, the reversible HOT lanes. That one was removed from consideration in our preferred alternative based on a number of different things, not the least of which was public comment. People were not big fans of that one. So we can continue on. And the mainline alternatives, you could see that one performed okay, but the one that remains is our option A, which is the 5 lanes plus 1 HOT lane. So there's just some additional travel time and average speed data that we looked at. As you can see, the no build and our alternative and how they stack up. Continue on. Just want to make sure that everybody can see all the different areas where we have proposed additional walking and biking improvements. There are quite a few areas where we're suggesting new or improved connections for both walkers and bikers, including the interchanges that touch your community. And with these values in mind, as we were looking at those things, how do we slow down traffic to make it feel safer as you're trying to cross an interchange, minimize the exposure to conflicts? So for example, we had a number of interchanges through the study area that have those free rights where people just come off the freeway, at freeway speed, and as you're walking and biking, that's not always the most pedestrian friendly. So looking at things like that, making sure that drivers have adequate sight distance and having more direct connections as opposed to those circuitous kind of, well, you have to walk this way and then come back this way. And where possible, we tried to make those more direct. And of course, making sure that access for everyone was considered. So we can continue on. Lots and lots of interchange options were considered in the last phase, and you will see in the draft EIS those that were moved forward as a preferred alternative. Just to say that we've looked at a lot of different solutions as we went through this process, and we hope that what we came up with is a good solution for your community. Continue on. This is just a little overview of the type of outreach and engagement that we have done. We have local area working groups with the aim of having these different groups represented, a representative cross-section of your community and the surrounding communities, to make sure to give us the feedback as we're going a more concentrated group above and beyond the general public. So we've been working with those groups, and in fact, we're meeting with them again this week. Continue on. Maybe you'll see your picture here. If you came to some of our open houses last time during the alternatives phase, this is where we gathered a lot of feedback on those alternatives. And we appreciate everyone who participated last time and hope that you will consider participating again this time when we'll talk about those opportunities. Just another, as we talk about the quality of life framework that I laid out at the beginning, we've really made an effort to try and reduce barriers to people participating. As we know, the standalone open house is not always easy to get to. It's not always convenient. It's, it's in the middle of the week. These are difficult things. So we are offering free transportation to our open houses via UTA On Demand, as well as Uber and Lyft. You can find that information on our website. We had food trucks last time. We'll have food trucks again at no cost to the public. There's a little kids corner if you have kids that you need to bring along and they don't have patience to learn about transportation options, multilingual materials, etc. We've tried to make sure that we are reducing barriers to participation as much as possible, including asynchronous options like we have a virtual open house on the 16th in addition to the in-person options, and that'll be recorded for anybody who wants to go back and review it at their leisure at a different time that maybe works for them better. So. And this was some of the feedback we got last time. As in our last phase, we went to 60 locations with all the information posters. We had 31 presentations like this one, over 50 stakeholder meetings where we went out and talked to people who had specific concerns, and we got over 2,800 comments in the last phase that helped to inform our screening of the alternatives. Continue on. Speaking of screening, this lovely cone-shaped thing talks about how we screen those alternatives. So there are level 1 and level 2 screening criteria in addition to those purpose and need items that we have to go through and look and say, does this alternative meet this level 1 screening? Okay, not, then that one doesn't continue to level 2. If it addresses all of those level 1 screening items, then it moves to a level 2. So just so you know, and then we are here at the bottom of our lovely cone too. At the draft EIS phase. So just so you understand how those alternatives are winnowed. And again, the level 1 and level 2 criteria are on our website if you want to read through all of how we screen. Continue on. Draft EIS, it is on our website right now. There are links to the different sections. It's by federal requirement, it is a thick document. So we hope that you will, jump to the sections that interest you, read through what is useful, and then do come to our public open houses where we've distilled the information a bit more for public consumption if you're not an engineer. Continue on. And so at those public meetings, this phase is a public hearing. So if you are a fan of standing at a podium like this and talking to people and addressing a panel publicly, we will have the public hearing portion as well as a public meeting where you can just come at whenever you would like and get the information you're looking for, talk to members of our team. So we have the 16th is an online open house, the 17th in Salt Lake at the State Fair Park. We'll have an in-person, and then the northern option here is at South Davis Rec on the 18th. And so there's also a ton of opportunities. You do not have to come to one of those if you'd like to review the things online and use our GIS comment map. We have a comment box. You can email us. There's all kinds of different ways you can give us the feedback, and we hope that you will. Continue on. Oh, sorry, go back one. Just want to point out the dates of the public comment period. We released the draft EIS on the 29th, and we're taking comment until the 13th. We always are listening. We're always talking to people, but that is sort of the official. If you want your comment in the documentation, that is when we need to get the comments. So continue on. Again, these are just some, if you're not quite sure what you want to give us feedback on, how to do that, these are just some guiding questions about, hey, does the preferred alternative connect you better to the places you want to go? Just some guiding questions to try and marinate on as you're considering what we're putting forward. Continue on. And this is our study contact information. If you call or email, you will get to talk to me. I am on the other side of those. They look a little bit generic, but it is me, and we will be happy to answer your questions and take your comments. I cannot take official comment by phone, but I'm happy to answer your questions to inform your comment. And we have a Facebook group, which is a great place to get the most updated information. If you haven't joined that yet, I would recommend doing that. Continue on. And then this is just our timeline to show where we've been and where we are going. And when we conclude this comment period, we will start to move towards a final EIS and then a record of decision. We anticipate that this study will be complete in 2024. And if, what's the right word? If a action alternative is selected, then we will, there is funding identified in 2026 to build whatever may come. So that's just the general timeline. Continue on. And so we're happy to take whatever questions you may have.
It was, looks like it was kind of inserted in that information, but I missed, when is the time where you will be able to give us specifics about, like, for example, these roads will be widened and these specific parcels will be impacted, et cetera?
Now is the time. That is all on the website. We're not running through that today for you, but we have right-of-way maps online. The design is all there. You can go and you can zoom into your home. You can look at the different lines. But we really encourage you to come and talk to us at these public events so that once you've looked at that, if you have remaining questions about impacts or business or residential impacts, we'll have our right-of-way professionals there, lots of good staff for you to come and ask questions.
So those are considered tentative, right? Those are tentative, or are they considered actual, where you have it outlined there? Those are the parcels that will be impacted.
Excuse me, I'm not sure what happened to my voice, but, so yeah, on our website, there's a right-of-way impact map. And what we have done is done a little offset line to that, because we know that there's a noise wall today, we have to replace that noise wall. So we have to be in somebody's backyard if the noise wall is right on their property. So those could be identified as an impact, but that just means it's a temporary construction easement. But that map on our website will show every parcel that we feel will be impacted by the entire corridor.
Great.
It's important to understand what impact means, and so it can seem a little scary if you say potentially impacted in your backyard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. There are some parcels that would be required if the preferred alternative moves forward to have some full impacts, meaning full relocation, but for the most part, we've done our best to reduce those to the extent possible in every community.
Sure, yeah. What other questions?
A comment and a couple of questions, if I may. First, thank you. As I've participated, it's been obvious that you're trying to remove the barrier of I-15 dissecting our community. So I've really appreciated that. While also I recognize that safe and expeditiously getting on and off the freeway is really important. So that's a hard balance, and so I appreciate you taking a conscious effort of that. So I recently saw a news article saying that this project was maybe double the cost or significantly over the anticipated cost. How do you anticipate that affecting the 2024 timeline? And how long would construction take once it starts?
So what we did as part of this study is we did a cost estimate. And we did a full one from an engineer standpoint and an independent one. And those came, to be honest, within 1% of each other. The number published in the EIS is $3.7 billion for that project. The current funding level is $1.7 billion. So yeah, there's a discrepancy. What UDOT's going to do to come up with that funding, I think they're looking at that now. And so the cost is much higher. A lot of that is because of economic conditions of where we're at. Some of it is additional scope over the initial cost estimate. We've added new interchanges in Salt Lake City. We've added a new one in North Salt Lake area to better create some access points along the corridor. And so when you start elevating over the roadway and over the railroad tracks, it gets expensive very quickly.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Just personal curiosity, I was wondering what percentage of that increase or disparity in cost is due to extra amenities, and what percent is due to inflation? Can you make a guess?
I can't for the extras because we didn't break it out that way of saying, here, we do have an escalation cost and a contingency cost in that. The interesting thing is when you're talking numbers this big, when you throw even a 1% contingency, it's a big number.
Right.
And so you start throwing a 10%, you start looking at that's $370 million. And so we tried to keep our contingencies down, so we didn't put contingency on contingency. But we do have an escalation factor in there, and it varies depending on when we pick the construction year. There can be anywhere from 5 to 15%, which, when you see those numbers, that's a big number when you start looking at those contingencies.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any other last comments or questions? We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, council members and mayor, for having us. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Great information. Okay, Mr. Charles Benson will now consider approval of the purchase of a John Deere 744K loader.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Come before you tonight to ask about our loader at the landfill. In 2015, Bountiful leased a loader, the 744 loader, at the landfill. We're now at the end of the lease, and we have two options, either return it or exercise the purchase at the end of the option there. So looking at the needs of the landfill, we do need a reliable backup loader down there. And for $51,276, that's a very inexpensive backup to have down there. We expect that to be lasting at least another 5 to 7 years, if not longer, and be available for the use at the landfill. The landfill has allocated $53,000 in the capital budget to purchase this at the end of the lease. Staff recommends that the council approve the purchase of the 744K loader from John Deere Financial in the amount of $51,276.57. Have any questions? I would be happy to answer.
Move to approve.
Second.
That second for Councilwoman Segura Bar, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
All right, we will now move to consider approval of the purchase of 5 police vehicles. Chief Beeler.
Let's see, Mayor and members of the council, thanks for letting me present a little bit today. So I'm here to request permission to purchase 5 police vehicles. I've mentioned before, we've had a really difficult time over the last several years in getting patrol vehicles ordered and actually delivered. We've been able to order for 2 or 3 years now, and we've actually never accepted delivery on any of them except for 2 Durangos that we got maybe 6 or 8 months ago that we still don't have outfitted and actually in use yet. So having said that, we did have an opportunity to purchase these 5 vehicles at 3 Durangos that have already been ordered by Young Automotive. We found out that they had already ordered numerous police package Durangos, and so we're requesting 3 from there, and 2 Ford F-150s. All of those vehicles will go into the patrol division. The Ford F-150s will be purchased from Performance Automotive. They're not a dealer on the state contract, but their bid price is competitive with state contract pricing, and those vehicles are $49,158 a piece. The 3 Durangos will be purchased from Young Automotive, which is a state bid contractor, and their price is $41,895 a piece. According to Bountiful City policy, I've already received permission from the city manager to actually make an order on these vehicles. And so now we're just finalizing that part of this process by getting your guys' permission at this time.
Questions for the chief? I'll entertain a
When
motion.
do you expect delivery of these?
The Durangos have already been ordered and built, and so they're expecting them, I mean, they told us in the next month or 2. I've heard that before, so I'm not gonna hold my breath for that. And the Ford vehicles, we made the order and they do still have to get built. We didn't look at Explorers this particular time, well, we were looking at Explorers this particular time to match some of our other fleet vehicles. But with the auto workers union strike taking place, we were told by Ford that we would likely not take delivery of those vehicles until 2025.
I'm curious to know the vehicles that were purchased a few months ago, what's the holdup on getting them outfitted and into the fleet?
It's challenging, so there's only there were only 2 places that we were aware of that installed the light bars and the siren and all the equipment that happens to go in them, and one that we were very happy with, used quite often, did a really good job. There generally have been about 4 to 5 months by the time you give it to them for them to actually get it into their fleet. They're doing all of the Utah Highway Patrol vehicles, many vehicles across the Wasatch Front. So that process has been the delay with them. We did have good experience with a different startup company that we were able to do some of our other vehicles with, and some camera installs that we ordered previously. They had an owner that had a medical problem and basically went out of business and has been bought by Young Automotive, and so they're still in business but under different ownership, and so there's just a transition of that type of stuff.
Thanks.
I'm happy to make a motion if there's no more questions. I move that we consider the approval of the purchase of 5 police vehicles in the total amount of $224,001.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Chief. And now we'll turn the time back over to you to consider the next item.
Okay, the next item is a request to approve some architectural design fees for the remodel of 4 restrooms in the main floor of the police department. As we've mentioned in some other purchases that we've made over the last couple of years, that the building is over 25 years old. We've been constantly making improvements to various parts of the building, like the HVAC and stucco and painting and stuff like that. We have been experiencing broken pipes, leaking pipes, bad drains, broken tile, and various things like that in some of our restrooms. In July of 2023, we hired Galloway and Company to do a feasibility study for the entire building, and various areas in that study were identified as needing some of our attention. 2 of the employee restrooms on the main floor and the public restroom in the lobby of the building were both included in that particular study. With that information gathered from Galloway and Company, we asked 3 architectural firms to provide bids for architecture work on this project. Those 3 firm names were provided to me by the city engineer, as having good reputations in the business. 2 of those firms were responsive to our request. The Galloway Company firm responded with a bid of $24,500, and for the architecture portion of the project, and Gold Plus Architectures responded with a bid of $21,400 for the architecture portion of the project. The police department, city engineer, and city manager have all seen these reports and the plans, and so we're respectfully requesting your approval to enter into a contract with Gold Plus Architecture, which was the lowest bid, for the remodel architecture plans of the police department for $21,400. The rest of the project obviously will come later, and all of these funds were approved in our capital budget plan for this year.
Comments, questions?
If there are none, I'll make a motion to approve the $21,400 for Gold Plus Architecture.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. Okay, the next item is Mr. Astorga to consider approval of a lot line adjustment to lots 18 and 19.
Thank you, Mayor. Francisco Astorga here with the Planning Department, covering for the city engineer. This is a lot line adjustment of Lot 18 and Lot 19 of the Oak Hollow subdivision. Both property owners are here, and they'll be more than happy to answer any questions, if any. If you look at page 71, and if you've read that paragraph under analysis, it explains exactly what is believed to have happened by Lloyd, our city engineer, and that he believes that there was a surveying error that resulted in the property corners of Lot 19 being improperly located, which then the house was built. It was built at a 3-foot setback, And fortunately for the affected property owner, which is lot 19, the neighboring property has extra area, and there has become a co-applicant in this application. And therefore, the lot line is being shifted 3 feet to the west, which makes it so now the house on lot 19 would not quite comply, as the side yard setback is 8 feet, but it would now be 7 feet. The Planning Commission took a look at this item last week and forwarded a positive recommendation to the City Council. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions, but we do recommend that you approve the lot line adjustment.
Mayor, seeing as this proposal goes a long way towards eliminating that nonconformity, I'd make a motion that we approve the lot line adjustment for lots 18 and 19 of Oak Hollow subdivision.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move to item number 12 to consider approval of ordinance 2023-06. Amber Corbridge.
Good evening. Just to give you some background on this, we had the Planning Commission review this on September 5th, and so this is the report since then. So the goal for this land use amendment is to provide more low-impact commercial uses for the neighborhood commercial zone. The following uses would be allowed with the proposed amendment. Banks and institutions, medical dental laboratory, general retail without outside storage, medical dental office, personal services, professional services, tailor seamstress shoe repair, and tutoring dance preschool daycare. And during the October 3rd Planning Commission meeting, the commission reviewed this proposed amendment and held a public hearing. The commission forwarded a positive recommendation with a 5-0 vote. The purpose and objective for this zone is going to allow for uses which involve light vehicle traffic and/or local in nature. And so, just to note, there currently are no areas in the city that are zoned neighborhood commercial. However, the next item on the agenda is a proposal to rezone a property to this particular zone. In your review, you will find that it is in the best interest of the public to provide this commercial zone to allow more local, low-impact uses. And then we've found that there are no concerns in the city for zoning, for changing the land use amendment to allow more of these types of uses shown in Exhibit A. And we recommend that you review this amendment, hold a public hearing, and approve these changes.
Great. Any questions from council before we hold a public hearing? Okay, we will now hold a public hearing on item number 12 to consider approval of ordinance 2023-06, modifying the commercial use table in the land use code. So anyone who would like to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name, and we'd love to hear from you now. Seeing none for this item, we'll bring it back to the council. And council, any discussion items or questions on this?
If I may, Mayor, I'm wondering if we can pull up the zone map. This, just the one that we have in our, I feel like I have a good understanding of.
I have that pulled up if you
Do
want
you?
to
Yeah,
give
just
me
it's a little
access
hard
to it.
see on this. And just for people who are listening at home, so they can see exactly what it is we're talking about in the area.
I would like to disclaim that you will not find
Won't
this,
find it,
this zone on our zoning map, as it exists in paper, but we don't have any properties zoned CN, neighborhood commercial. The next item is the request to take the specific property, the Bountiful Professional Office, as you can see here is yellow, which means is residential, it's R4, thank you, Amber, and that's what we'll be discussing after this item.
So would you like more clarification about the zones?
Yeah, I would just like, just so everyone can see what we're talking about, can we pull?
Just like a general map
can
of
we
the
z- can we
city, of
zoom
the
out and put-
zoning?
And put this up, or is that not possible?
Yeah, we're going to zoom out and,
So the purpose
Yep.
for that attachment is to show you that there are no areas in the city zoned neighborhood commercial. That's why it's in your attachments.
No, and I
But,
understand that,
yeah,
but
it
just so people can see where,
Okay.
what the current zones are.
Sure.
So the yellow, the heavier yellow, I guess, is the R4 district. As you can see here, the lighter yellow is the R3, and then we have the foothill. The commercial zones is the brighter red, or the red is the heavy commercial. And then if I zoom in a little bit, you'll see the pink, which is the general commercial. We're very familiar with the downtown zone, and then the hospital zone. A pocket of general commercials found at the Mandarin site. And then we have our mixed-use zones, Renaissance Town Center, and then at Village on Main on Pages Lane. I'm having a hard time with my two fingers here. And we have some, also some mixed use, more so horizontal mixed use at corner 22 area with some general commercial as well. And then throughout the city here and there, more so 4th North, I want to say, and 2nd West, we have our professional office zones. They're very, very small, very, some spots here and there of that designation. And then, sorry for the driving, we do have some multifamily residential zones, as pointed out here, on the east side of Main Street, and there are some other pockets here and there throughout the city.
Thank you.
That's a good overview. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good thought to be able to see the city as a whole and how it's broken out into the different zones. Any other questions from council members?
A comment if I could, Mayor. I really appreciate the work that our planning department has gone to update the permitted uses, bring those kind of into the modern era. And I think this is going to be a good change
Excellent.
if it passes.
Any other questions, or are we ready for a motion?
Happy to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2023-06, changing the zone text as described.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Now we will move to item 13 to consider approval of ordinance 2023-07, rezoning the property at 1480 South Orchard Drive. Ms. Corbridge.
Okay, so as stated previously, we do have this petition from the applicant who is here, Dave Larson, who owns Bountiful Professional Plaza at 1480 South Orchard Drive, and he's requesting to rezone the property from R4 to neighborhood commercial CN. He stated the purpose for this petition is to keep the services in the area to benefit the community like it has been for the past 59 years. He also stated the property has existing characteristics of neighborhood commercial structures and uses where existing commercial tenants bring in low traffic and impacts to the neighborhood. Current tenants in the building include businesses such as beauty salons, dentists, offices, labs, bookkeepers, consultants, insurance investors, preschool, etc. There are no proposed changes to the site or building. During the September 5th Planning Commission meeting, the commission reviewed this and forwarded a positive recommendation, 6-0 vote. A little bit of background, Bountiful City approved the Bountiful Professional Plaza construction plans in the 1960s, and at that time, the zoning did allow for professional offices. And since then, the property has been rezoned to a single-family residential R4, which now prohibits those professional office uses. So the applicant does desire to bring the property into compliance with current city code by rezoning it to neighborhood commercial and allow for additional neighborhood commercial type uses besides just professional offices such as personal services. So the council will need to consider how this amendment is necessary in the interest of the public and in harmony with the objectives and purposes of the Bountiful General Plan and Land Use Code. And with that, we recommend, so staff recommends that City Council review this proposed zone map amendment and hold a public hearing and approve the property rezone at 1480 South Orchard Drive from R4 to CN.
Thank you. Any questions or comments before we open the public hearing?
I have a question.
Sure.
When was it rezoned to single family and why? Do we know that background?
I'll take that question, Amber, if you don't mind. Our records show that it was in 1990, I believe 1992, in that it didn't become R4. R4 didn't exist till a few more years later. It was something to the effect of RA21, something to that effect. We did not find a specific reason as to why this specific site was rezoned from what in the 60s and 70s, it was a professional office type of designation. We simply find that based on what happened, it was just that a bigger district was rezoned. And there was simply a casualty of them not carving out the specific site that already had professional office uses in there. In our research, they only had about 5 professional office uses that were approved when it was rezoned, when it was developed in the 60s. And it was just, I don't want to use the word overlay, but I will. They simply overlaid the single-family residential zone on top of not just this specific site, but an entire neighborhood or a vast amount of properties. And that's when it truly became a legal non-conforming site with only those 5 approved uses. So we're really fixing something that, based on resources at the time, it should have been caught, and perhaps there are other sites out there. And as we review their business licenses, that's when we start looking at there's something here that doesn't quite add up with our zoning code and the existing uses that are there. And we appreciate Mr. Larson's partnership here, and that it's his zone application. However, the city were the ones that initiated the land use code text amendment that we just approved.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move to a public comment? Public hearing. Okay, we'll now move to a public hearing. We'd like to hear from anyone who would like to speak as we consider approval of ordinance 2023-07, rezoning the property at 1480 South Orchard Drive from single-family residential to neighborhood commercial. So if you'd like to speak on this, please come forward now.
Hopefully the nervousness doesn't send me into labor. I've had to wait too long to do this. No, I'm just kidding. So this is concerning the rezone. I call it the Medical Plaza property. As I understand the situation, one of the main reasons that the property is being proposed for rezone from residential to neighborhood commercial is because the property owner has been losing some tenants, not anything he did. It's just this. I have an example of how this happened to my family. We started going to an orthodontist there. 202 East, 1400 South. So I'm just around the corner from this. A few years ago at the plaza, we started going to the orthodontist because it was so close and we could walk there. I loved having this option, living in a wonderful neighborhood, and using its local services gives me a great sense of community and independence. And soon after we started using the orthodontic services, he retired, and now we have to go to Centerville. I'm guessing the property owner is also wondering some reasons for tenants leaving. There are great services that this property provides, and I think that changing the zoning to neighborhood commercial could help promote a diversity of services that could attract more business. For me, I think of this property as having potential to provide services that directly connect with fulfilling the needs of its residents. I think that the neighborhood commercial zoning proposal's a great catalyst for getting people in the neighborhood to own their own neighborhood. One of our main challenges in our neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhood is that Orchard Drive is incredibly unsafe for all modes of transportation, especially for people who want or have to walk or use micromobility forms of transportation. I see this with students crossing the street, high school, junior high students, my own kids. It's also a great concern for people driving. I've had many experiences. We need assistance through a collaborative effort from many city departments to help implement temporary solutions that can lead to permanent solutions for safety along Orchard Drive. I've seen that even incremental changes in safe street design can draw commercial and community growth much quicker than throwing a bunch of money at fixing one seemingly isolated problem. And I think it would be a great idea to ask willing residents to be involved in this process. I have just a printout of some temporary safe street design examples and permanent. I'd love to give it to a few of you. Is that okay if I do that right now? I had printer issues, so sorry, let me help you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Thanks. Please give us your name and...
Jerry Wall, I live at 210 East 1400 South. My property adjoins the property in discussion of about 100 feet. And I appreciate that comment you made about the R4 thing kind of falling out of the sky. No one knew that was happening. Because I was at that, both meetings I've attended. I've lived in this property for 53 years. So I kind of keep my eye open of what's happening. And I know at the meeting we had, there was some question how that even happened. And I thank you very much for that explanation. So when we found it was, going to be R4, those who showed up that night were concerned that we liked the way it was. No traffic on the weekends, no traffic after 5 o'clock in the evening. We love that part. Versus R4, we figure 4 units, that's at least 10 or 12 cars. Everybody has 2 or 3 cars coming in, all kinds of, I'll move over here and stop talking with my arms. Somebody said one time, if I fell out of a boat, just keeps talking, I wouldn't be able to swim right to shore. So anyway, as myself and I know the neighbor next door is all in favor of it being changed from the R4 to what's being considered, which would be more in term helping the community and being fit as we've already had in our neighborhood. So I can speak for a couple of other neighbors, they're not here, so because we assumed it was going to get taken care of by what the planning commission had said. So I'm in favor of it as is, as a neighbor, hopefully another few years left in my life, and probably my family would stay there too, so I'm in favor of that, as has been talked to tonight. Thank you very much, because I follow that quite, what should I say, regularly of signs out, public notice, we're going to change. And there was none of that ever happened on that R4. Right? So when it fell out of the sky, we were all concerned about, hey, when did that all happen? So anyway, thank you very much, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we appreciate that. Thanks for your chiming in and for your discussion on this. Council, do you have any thoughts or questions on this?
I have a thought, Mayor, if I could share.
Please.
Mr. Larson seems to be a very, very modest person, because in his reasons why this zone change is necessary, he didn't put to fix a city mistake from decades ago. So I was appreciative of his gentle nature in listing the reasons that it needs to be changed. I think that that needs to be one of our primary considerations here, is that this is just fixing something that needs fixing from a city action years ago.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mayor, just to share with one of our residents that commented, I share concerns about Orchard. I'm an avid dog walker, and Orchard is often on our dog walking route, and crossing Orchard can sometimes be a perilous exercise. This particular item obviously is narrower than the focus I think that you were interested in. So I just wanted to point out that we do have an interesting effort I would direct you to as we are updating our city general plan. And if you go to the city website, you can link through to that general plan, which includes
Rachel's on the steering committee.
which includes some options there. So
Rachel's really aware of the general plan process. Is that right? Yeah.
Because I think that makes a lot
It's
of
an
sense for us to
important-
focus on Orchard Drive there in particular, just because it is important to get that safe streets component, which isn't one of those things ahead of us tonight.
Absolutely. So I hope you understand, Councilwoman Bradshaw is saying, we hear you, and that's an important thing, and it's not really, it's not a part of what we're voting on tonight, but it's a great thing that we're aware of. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And it sounds like you've been a good neighbor, because your neighbors are saying, we like the office building where it is. We'd like to keep it. So any other comments from the council or questions?
I think I'll make a comment that any commercial uses that we have currently should be preserved and protected in place, because I think it's a critical resource that we need to provide our residents. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as written, 2023-7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. That motion passes. Thanks very much for your help on that, Amber. We'll now move to our last item, to consider approval of a liquor license for Number One Thai Fusion, located at 575 West, 500 South. Mr. Astorga.
Thank you, Mayor. We asked our new assistant planner to take this application. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but Amber and I both got to supervise as our new guy took this application. This is a liquor license at Number One Thai Fusion Restaurant, which started here. They relocated back in 2022. They are located at 575 West, 500 South, and they are zoned general commercial. And all of our liquor license require city council approval. This is a liquor license for the restaurant, for them to sell beer and wine at their site. We reviewed the code, and we found that it complies.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
That second goes to Councilwoman Segura Bar. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you for your help with that. And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks.